All right, welcome back to Shadow Shorts. If we've never met before, my name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners. And every weekday, I bring to you an expert or a thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. Today is no different because my guest today is Rex Donahey. He is the director of innovative concrete technology at the American Concrete Institute. So, Rex, first of all, thank you for joining me. And second of all, I have to give you and your group a little bit of kudos because a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we hosted a roundtable on on reality capture in concrete, and it was a fantastic conversation. I think there are a lot of people that go, "Oh, concrete, how innovative is that?" Or construction using concrete, how innovative is that? It's been around since the Romans or before. So, what are we doing in 2023? Um, but that conversation that we had with obviously with the whole panel of folks, I thought was fascinating, and we got tons and tons of engagement in that conversation. So, welcome and thanks for doing what you do.
Thanks, Jeff. And thanks for the invitation today. Yeah, that was a great workshop. And it just covered a small little segment of
Right.
what affects concrete and how concrete affects construction and the world around us. Um, yeah, is concrete a static material? I know it is not. And the construction industry is certainly not a static either. I in my previous job, in fact, I'm still engaged with the magazine, but I was the editor in chief of Concrete International, which was ACI's or is ACI's magazine. It's our communication vehicle for
Hmm.
the total membership within the Institute. Um, I went home and told a classmate that I was the editor of a concrete magazine, and I got to look like a magazine about concrete. And yeah,
Yeah.
there must be about a dozen of them just in English. So,
Sure. Yeah.
the world uses concrete. They're surrounded by concrete, but they don't really think about it. And maybe that's what we want is for them to just use it and use it well.
Sure.
So, sure. So, where do we start?
Where do we start? So, your title at ACI is Director of Innovative Concrete Technologies, and I know that means a lot of things. It means you wear a lot of hats. Um, when and so an easy example, I guess, reality capture, the
Mhm.
workshop or the roundtable we talked about um, last week. That I think is an easy example. Okay, where does innovation come in to concrete and to constructing with concrete? Well, here we have reality capture, and if you don't know what reality capture is, go to the Shadow Partners YouTube channel and find that roundtable from about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and you can get an entire discussion on 3D scanning and reality capture and everything involved with that. So, but that's one example of innovation in the construction. What all are you paying attention to? I know you have a lot of committees at ACI. I know you have a lot of groups that are paying attention to best practices and everything else. But what are all the hats that you're wearing, and how do those push technology and innovation forward?
Well, in addition to reality capture, in fact, I've got an article coming up in the September issue of the magazine about augmented reality. And
Mm,
I took a little bit of a different approach to that because normally when you think of augmented reality, you think of the head mounted display
right.
uh, and that's where it stays. But to me, augmented reality meant, okay, what's the reality on the construction site and how do we augment that with information? So that includes head mounted displays. It could include iPad display, but it can also include projection systems that use laser beams to provide line work on
Mm,
formwork or on a slab. It includes these wonderful 2D printers. I know there's been a lot of talk about 3D printing, but
Right.
the 2D printers from about 4 different manufacturers that can line up information on the formwork, whether it's a casting slab for tilt-up construction or whether it's, plywood for elevated slab construction, that can actually indicate the information that's normally on a 2D drawing on the forming surface and give the instructions right there to the workers so that
Wow,
they don't
amazing.
have to look it up. So we've got something like that where we've got all of these different technologies that are coming together. They're largely built around building information modeling, which, by the way, we have a committee that works on that, developing information, industry foundation classes for transferring information between software packages. We don't have really a committee that's focused on robotics, but certainly maybe we should as things progress. But that does affect quality. It does affect specifications, and maybe the ways that we present information like that no longer are limited just to a printed out paper, a PDF file of a specification. Maybe we get to the point where the augmentation includes the specification requirements right there, either in the head-mounted display or printed or projected onto the surface.
Yeah.
The other areas, that we're looking at is, like I said, concrete's not a static material. We're in a market that's demanding that we stop generating so much carbon dioxide when we produce concrete. The embodied energy, the embodied carbon are significant opportunities in the industry. So we've got, and these are some of the companies we're tracking. We've got materials suppliers who are developing new cementitious materials. They're developing alternatives that look like cement and they behave like Portland cement, but they're produced using a different technology. Some materials that we've been tracking are still at the pilot phase. But even then, they're going to eventually affect the industry. So ACI has created a Center for Excellence. It's called NEU, N-E-U. That center is going to help the industry by validating and verifying the claims that are made by these producers that are producing these alternative materials. We have a committee also that's working on a code document for low carbon materials, low carbon concrete, because traditionally ACI's code documents have been focused on life safety. So, and life safety could be an immediate concern or it could be a long-term concern. Low carbon concrete is a life safety issue. It's just in a longer time setting than something that's affected by an immediate thing like a live load. So that committee is focused on developing a building code that's focused on how engineers can specify low carbon concrete and how contractors can, order it and have it delivered. Good grief. New committees at ACI include machine learning informed construction and design. So before we came online with the formal discussion here, you and I were talking about artificial intelligence and just what a shock it's been to everyone in the world probably when these large language models came out. ACI generates a lot of information. It's generated by volunteers. It's carefully curated by our staff of editors and engineers. And we like to be sure that things are verifiable and traceable. If we were to release that information and allow it to be used to train a large language model, suddenly that curation and that data traceability is going to be lost. So we have a task group right now that I'm a member of, comprising staff members and volunteers, and we're looking at how is AI going to affect the Institute? How's it going to affect the industry in general? And then how are we going to interact with that technology?
So I'm listening, and this is even, boggling my mind, because you're looking at innovation in terms of constructability.
Mhm.
You're looking at innovation in terms of building science.
Mhm.
You're looking at innovation in terms of communication and also organizational issues. So, there's, I guess you sum that up and say there's no limit to the innovation that
No.
you're looking at as you look out, over the next year or so of your role and everything that's going to go on at ACI. Again, in case you missed this at the beginning, this is Rex Donahey. He's the director of innovative concrete technology. What's maybe the top one or two things that you're either paying attention to or you're anticipating being the biggest impact in your role?
I think these alternative materials will be a major impact, or will have a major impact on the industry. They're not just limited to the cementitious material. We're looking at alternatives for aggregates because extraction is a challenge. Getting materials, recycling of the existing concrete that we have. It's a resource. We need to take advantage of it. We're seeing the development of nanotechnology or nanomaterials that could be used in concrete and reduce the amount of cement that we need to produce concrete with the same strength. And then anytime you introduce a new material into that mix or mixture, if you will, you introduce new challenges for the contractor.
Sure.
Because the material may not set at the same rate, it may not finish the same way. Obviously, the cost is going to change. The aesthetics may change. And then downstream, obviously, we're still looking at life safety as a major issue, but durability becomes a huge issue because you can do everything possible and really have an optimized low embodied carbon in your concrete, but if it doesn't last for 50 or 75 or 100 years, you're going to have to replace it, and that means even more carbon introduced into the atmosphere. Right. So I think that's probably it. And we've got, as I said, that new is the organization that's working on the Center of Excellence that's working on this validation program. We also have another Center of Excellence that's doing a lot of research and sponsoring a lot of research on the use of non-metallic materials in construction. And that generally, a lot of the early focus was on using fiber composites for new construction and repair for reinforcing. One of our newest groups is focused on productivity. Then it kind of goes back to the introduction of these new technologies. We're looking at what can we do with technology in the classic sense, electronics, data collection and data use, and then how can we use those to our best advantage, and then what are we doing with the interaction between parties on a construction site, but then back to the material. How does that material affect productivity for the contractor? If it slows down the process, that's going to add cost for the owner. So, yeah, it's a lot to go through, but it's turned into, like before, to me, it's turned into work as well as a hobby, because I get to track almost everything that can have any kind of an impact on concrete and on the construction design or construction of concrete objects.
Yeah. So I know we've got to wrap this up,
Okay.
but your goals with ACI. Obviously, you're touching a lot of different areas. You've mentioned a lot of different topics, from constructability to material science to recruiting and retention of workforce, et cetera. A lot of things. So, just in closing, uh, if, on your wish list, of things, who who do you want to talk to? Who would you like to get involved with ACI? I know you've got committees and you've got centers of excellence and so on. I know many of the folks involved, as in a lot of the trade organizations and
Mhm.
professional organizations. Many are volunteers. Who do you want, once they've heard this conversation, who do you want to reach out and say, hey, I want to get involved in ACI?
If you Anybody who has a technology that they think can improve durability, constructability, and durability, and reduce the carbon content of the concrete, we want to talk to you. ACI has well over 100 volunteer committees um, that generate educational and certification and design specification type documents that are used primarily to help the world use concrete to its best advantage. Um, if you've got any kind of a technology, for example, and you'd like to present it to ACI through one of our uh, Centers for Excellence, the ACI Foundation, or through just the ACI committee structure itself, send me a note. You can contact me at rex.donahey@concrete.org, or just send me a note at innovation@concrete.org. And ask me about our technology forum that the ACI Foundation sponsors every year. If you've got something that's really keen, we want to see it presented at our technology forums. The next one's coming up on August 29th through the 31st. We're going to have two sensor technologies there that are going to help us measure concrete strength real time in the material without the need for external testing. We've got a venture capitalist that's coming to speak to us to help us learn more about that. We've got augmented reality system that's being presented. And we're going to be talking about machine learning, not just for material optimization, but also for automating the design tasks. So yeah, it's a really dynamic time. For somebody like me, it's a really fun time. And my wife wonders if I ever have any time off, but that's okay. Um, we we invite people to come in, help us out. If you can help ACI generate more useful and current documents or information, it's going to help everybody in the construction industry
Yeah.
and the owners. That includes the owners.
Right, right. Yeah, we're talking about concrete and sort of in a vacuum here, without even, that's a whole other discussion, I guess, when we get into owners and operators and so on and so forth. So that's a really good point. I had Rex's email address up there on the screen earlier if you want to reach out to him. If you want to find out more about what goes on at ACI, go to concrete.org. That URL is in the bottom left of your screen now. And if you want to go deeper into conversations like this, we've got an opportunity coming up in October in Atlanta, October 24th through 26th to be exact. It's called Shadow Summit. This will be our 7th annual Shadow Summit. And I was just going over the lineup of topics and speakers. We're going to announce keynote speakers, I think, later today.
Cool.
But a lot of information coming out now on Shadow Summit. Go to shadowsummit.com. It is a purposefully intimate affair, so to speak, 200 tickets maximum, so that we can have highly curated conversations with a highly curated audience and really go deep into the weeds on all of the topics, including machine learning and AI, including robotics and industrialization of construction, including the financial side of designing, building, and developing, basically anything that spans the built environment. Our CEO, KP Reddy, has described Shadow Summit 2023 as a Cliff's Notes version of everything that's happened in innovation for the built environment over the course of 2023, and a preview of what you need to pay attention to, what you need to keep an eye on, what you need to budget for as you head into 2024 when it comes to innovation. So shadowsummit.com is a place to find out more information, and tickets are going. So there's a little button towards the top of the page there where you can apply to attend. Rex, thanks so much for another great conversation. Really enjoy interacting with you and the whole ACI organization and everything that we're able to do together. So thanks for sharing a little bit more about what it means to be innovative in the world of concrete.
Thanks, Jeff. We just kind of scratched the surface. There's a lot more to talk about. But I'll be at the summit. So
that'll be great.
We'll continue the conversations there.
We will. We may have to turn this into a series. So appreciate you doing this.
Thanks.
Yeah. And for everybody out there that's watching, thanks for joining us today. I'll be back again tomorrow with another Shadow Short with another expert or thought leader around the realm of innovation in the built environment. So join us again tomorrow at noon Eastern. See you then. Thanks, everybody.